Hello everyone, Balazs here, and welcome to another episode on the Cooperative Player's Toolbox. So, expanding on our base idea outlined in a previous video, which if you haven't watched yet, do so now, we'll be talking about a more practical approach that could very much help you accomplish your goal of cooperating either narratively or, let's be honest, in this case, more tactically about the other players in your party. And in a very Matt Colvillian way, I'm going to give you the most important information up front, which is 1. D&D and TTRPGs are cooperative games in which it benefits you to work together with the rest of the players. 2. In order to achieve that, it is best to know what the other characters are bringing to the table. And 3. In order to get that information, well, the best way to get that information is giving access to each other's character sheet, or in other words, sharing them. That's it. That's the meat and gist of it. Share your character sheet with the other players and your DM. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye. But if you do have the time in the rest of the video, I will be talking about why I think this is a great idea to help party collaboration, make prep easier, and generally just to make the game more enjoyable. Why some people might be opposed to the idea, some potential perceived disadvantages and how you could tackle them, and practical ideas on how to actually do it.
Do it! Just do it!
But first of all, let me just emphasize that this is just a suggestion. Me and many others who grew up playing in the 90s or 2000s, we didn't have any of the tools that we have today, so all our character sheets were printed and written on by hand, by pencil, nonetheless, and we didn't have any access to any, cloud storage or any other way to share digital media like photos or PDF easily with each other, so we never really thought about actually sharing the character sheet. It could have been useful in many times, but it was just unfeasible. It was actually an ongoing problem, like someone left their sheet at home and then they went back home and back to the game, which took an hour or maybe 2, or when someone was actually missing from a game and then we were missing their character sheet because we just couldn't get to it. And not to mention that when you lost your character sheet, boy, that was not a fun experience. But anyway, while there are tons of different tools online that you can use for your games, you don't have to use it all. And also, while having access to each other's character sheet and being able to constantly check them, as a novice player, I would probably avoid it because as long as you're still focusing on the rules in your own character sheet, getting to know other characters might just confuse you. But then again, nothing is black and white, and you could also get inspiration from it. So if you do want to check their sheets and check it, steal some ideas, then go do it. So first, let's see when, why, and for whom it is useful. Because of course it can be useful for your DM, but it can also be super helpful for your fellow players as well. Whether that be during session, in between sessions, or of course when someone is missing a session, as I've just said before. So let's start with the less obvious, because even during a session, you can face multiple situations where the option of asking your fellow player for some information on their character sheet is just problematic. I do not have a specific example, but it happened countless of times when someone was temporarily away from the table and we needed something from their sheet, but we just couldn't get to it. Like, imagine you're in the middle of the fight and everyone needs to roll saves, but someone stepped out for a snack, or they got an urgent phone call, or maybe they went to the bathroom and Mimic got them, and now you're wondering, what the hell are all those noises coming out of the bathroom? So yeah, not often, but every now and then it is very useful to give your fellow party members the option and the permission to have a glance at your character sheet, because no one likes the game to be stopped because we're waiting for one player. And I think the permission is very important because it's kind of rude to look at other players' sheet when not asked before. The practice becomes even more crucial when someone is missing a game. Life happens and sometimes a player just can't make it. But when the character sheets are shared, this ensures that the rest of the party doesn't lose access to crucial resources and abilities. The only frontliner that can stand toe-to-toe with the undead army approaching you. All in all, it prevents a group from being penalized by a single player's absence, and it prevents the DM of having to adjust every single encounter because they prepped for one more player. And yes, you can also share your sheet on a need-to basis, but I myself remember it being such a hassle to share my sheet with the other players when I was missing a session. So isn't it just better to default give access to it? Now, between sessions is where I think it becomes most crucial and extra useful to share the character sheets, and not just for the DMs. Good players also like to plan and prepare for the next session, whether they're trying to prepare some tactics for the upcoming fight, or they're counting their gold and figuring out what to buy in the next shopping session, or they're leveling up and want to know which spells or abilities or skill points to pick in order not to have any unnecessary overlap with the other characters. But of course, if this is useful for the players, it is immensely invaluable for the DMs. Good DMs are not planning their encounters and sessions in a vacuum. They will consider how the party set up and how each player's abilities will fit the scenario, what skills they can use to solve a situation. But they cannot do that if they don't have the data. There are many examples I could list why it is super useful to have all the info on the PCs when prepping for a session, but let's just say that every DM had their, what I call, Alhoon moment, when they were like, yeah, oh, this combat encounter doesn't seem so difficult. Well, everyone has dark vision nowadays, so darkness is not an issue, and all they need is for a couple of them to succeed on their saves against the Alhoon's Mind Blast. Only to realize on the spot that the party consists of 2 humans, a halfling, a lizard folk, a UNT, and none of them have an in score higher than 10. In my defense, it was a West Marches campaign, so I wasn't really prepared on who will be joining the session. But yeah, sorry guys. So help your DM design engaging content for you by giving them unrestricted access to your character sheet so they can plan accordingly. The list goes on for the benefits. There's the quiet player who's too timid to ask the other players about their abilities, or noticing that another player made a mistake on theirs. Just the other day, a wizard from one of my parties forgot to pick spells after the level up. Or, when you notice that a player is acting very, very arrogantly at the table, but then you realize that it is not actually him, it is the ghost that possessed their character. Which I've completely forgotten. I'll remember it after I was looking through their inventory and realized that there's a little girl's diary there that reminded me that he's now possessed. So yeah, helps a lot. Still, even though it's super useful, there are some people who don't like sharing their character sheets. Why is that? Well, quite frankly, there are some reasonings which, in my opinion, are just simply bullshit. One of them is saying that, well, I never needed it. These are usually the same people who just cannot comprehend how you can enjoy something in a different way than they do. So, honestly, just screw them. Even if the people like them don't see the need for this, there are other people at the table. And if it's not useful for them, it still could be useful for a cleric who has a lot more support spells and want to know more about the rest of the gang, and maybe a new player who wants to check other people's character sheets for inspiration. So if the rest of the table wants to do it, then just comply, be flexible and understanding. This is generally a good advice. Another common issue could be when you have some secret on your character sheet that you just don't want to share with the others. And first of all, while there can be some exceptions, like a player is playing a doppelganger who's trying to infiltrate the party with the DM's knowledge, I might add. I will probably talk more about this specifically in another video because there are a lot of pitfalls to it, and it's just something that needs to be talked about. But other than these niche cases, having secrets between each other is usually not a good idea. I mean, pulling a fast one on your fellow players is something that is generally frowned upon in a cooperative game. And note how I said players and not player characters, because while the characters may have secrets between each other, what the players know is not the same that their characters know. And a secret that does not come up during the game has no point. So in most cases, I think it's much more beneficial for the game to let the other players in on the secret so they can help it come to light. There's a Nordic LARP principle called play to lose, and I know the name sounds frightening, but bear with me. So the point of LARP, and well, I think TTRPGs as well, is drama. And the drama happens from conflict. So play to lose encourages players to lose against other characters, like act sometimes against their own interests and goals to create better situations from drama, moving the game forward in a more interesting way. Like, I don't know, someone is cheating on another character and they hide under the bed and give out a sound, but okay, nope, this is not the place for this. We're getting a bit off topic. The point is that the same goes for secrets. If you want it to come into play, to actually matter, to actually have an effect on the game, then let the others in on it so they can help it to surface. If you do have something that you want to keep a secret from the other players for a later dramatic reveal and your DM knows about it, there's a simple solution. Share a version of your sheet with the others that just doesn't include those details. They can still benefit the rest from it. Like in the previous doppelganger example, you just change the species from doppelganger to human and remove the abilities that the doppelganger would have. And it's a bit more work, but I think it's worth it. Another quite common critique could be that this discourages inter-party roleplay. Some might say that having discussions between the party members about what their character can or cannot do can lead to some interesting roleplay opportunities, where the characters share their expertise and knowledge with each other. But who's to say that you cannot do that while also having a look at their character sheet? In fact, if you already know what they're good at, you can ask targeted questions specifically tailored for that character. I noticed you are very good at patching up our injuries and have a very detailed knowledge on how the human body works. Or Elven, Dwarven, Dragonborn then. Anyway, knowledge like that is hard to come by. Where did you learn this? This also eliminates that awkward point where, after discussing how nimble and stealthy the ranger is, you also have to ask, so what is your stealth score? Anyway, I really don't think there's any good reason for not sharing your character sheet. The only one I can come up with is that you're lazy and don't have the time. Which is, to be honest, it's understandable. This is a game we play for fun. If you don't have the time and the energy, then don't do it. This part is not compulsory. Now, how to do this effectively? Well, in the olden days of pen and paper character sheets, this was pretty cumbersome and honestly quite impossible. But today, well, if you're using a virtual tabletop, the answer I think is staring you right in the face. I mean, all platforms have an option to share your character sheet with the fellow players. D&D Beyond most definitely does, and I'm pretty sure the others as well. But if you're like me and you're playing at a real-life table, everyone is using a different method or of keeping track of their characters, then the answer might not be that simple. But I think the most straightforward way is to just create a shared folder online, like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, whatever you prefer, maybe a forum channel on Discord or something like that, and to just upload the PDFs or simply take a photo of your sheet and just upload that one. It's easy. I know it's not editable or something, but a photo works as well. Another method that I use in concert with the shared folder is having a shared Google Sheet that lists all the most important data about the characters in just one place. Now, granted, this needs to be updated manually from time to time, and of course the PDFs and photos also need to be uploaded manually, but I truly believe that it's just worth it, all the hassle, and you're saving a lot of time and headache afterwards. In my own games, I also encourage players to have a character on D&D Beyond as well, and while they might be tracking their character on paper, having a separate sheet on Beyond helps others, follow it up. If on the rare occasions that I'm playing my own character and not DMing a game, what I do is that I create a D&D Beyond character. I usually put together the character on D&D Beyond, and then I create a separate paper character sheet because I like to use a pen to just, draw around it and doodle on it, and it just feels more natural for me. And then I have both. But yeah, extra work, I know. But if this is a hobby that you're interested in, the extra work is usually something that you can actually enjoy. All in all, this whole thing can be put down to a debate between the transparent and opaque style of gaming. I'm not going there, it's a whole nother topic. But while I don't think that sharing your character sheet could ruin any suspense or, dispel any mystery about this fantastical world that we're playing in, there's this Scotch saying that I like to use and that I think it holds up here as well, which in this situation would sound like, it's your table. Games can be perfectly enjoyable without sharing your character sheet, but I mean, there's a reason why I'm making this video. I truly and honestly strongly believe in it, and it made my games so much better and easier and more enjoyable. So I highly recommend you sharing your character sheet with your fellow players and your DM. Well, that's it for today, folks. Hopefully I didn't drag this out for too long. I still always feel there's so much to talk about. Anyway, the next video will likely be in Hungarian for my beginner players, but after that I would like to continue this series. But I'm having a very busy time right now, so I cannot think ahead for more than a couple of weeks. But if you have any suggestions on what to do next, then please do share in the comments below, along with any stories, experiences, or practices that you have about sharing your character sheets that you would like to share with us. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you'd like to play in Budapest, then send me a message or join my Discord server. My webpage has gone online, so do check it out. I'll leave a link in the doobly-doo. Until next time, cheers and play nice.